We're at the Pantages Hotel in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with James Zabiela. He's about to head out to System later on tonight, back into Toronto for the third time this year. System, Gov, System. What's the difference between the two?
They're very different, in fact. I know that the nights are run by the same guys, but Government is like a massive sort of almost ravey vibe. But I like the fact that the venue keeps its intimacy, especially for a venue of that size, you know. I think that's what makes it so good. But System is totally underground, and it has that intimate vibe of an underground club, and it's dark and it's got a low ceiling, you know. It's kind of more sleazy, and I don't really have a favourite, but it's nice to be able to do both, to be able to play to a big room of that size at Government that's so massive, and then to be able to do System, which is probably less than half the size. I'm lucky to be able to do both gigs, whereas I think if I was perhaps someone like Ferry Corsten or Paul van Dyk, I'd have to do the Government, you know, to the DJ fee that they command. They wouldn't be able to get enough people into the venue to pay the fee. So yeah, I'm glad that I get to do both.
Where's the most unique place that you've played at?
Unique. Let me think. Oh, actually, I just played somewhere in Brazil, at a place called Florianopolis, and the club's called Warung, and it's the best way to describe it is like the Ewok village in Return of the Jedi. It's like in a tree house. The venue's all wooden. It's quite nice because the sound of the speakers and everything like soaks into the wood, and acoustically sounds really great. But yeah, it's just like you're DJing up a tree almost. And I'm not comparing the Brazilians to Ewoks in any way, because they're very good-looking people, but it's that kind of vibe, you know. And that's definitely a unique place, and it's on a beach as well. So
you're looking in the new year to start some more production. What can we expect from you?
Actually, I just finished kind of my first. Well, actually, it was my second track. Because I just bought Ableton Live 4, so it's kind of given me inspiration to start doing stuff. While I've been on tour, I've been away for 3 weeks. I finished the track on the plane like 2 days ago, and I played it out twice already. I've made some adjustments every time I play it out, because I've only made it in my headphones. And I'm fairly happy with how it sounds. I'm going to play it tonight, and thanks to the fact that you can sequence stuff in such a rapid time, you know, with Ableton, I think next year I should be able to get an EP out at least by say August time or something like that. So yeah, I'm working on stuff at the moment.
Any plans for collaborations with anyone, or if not, who would you like to collaborate with?
Yeah, I've been talking to do you know Christian J, the Breaks producer? He's been emailing me about doing something together, and also Jeff Bennett and also an Australian guy called Crease who works with Jeff Bennett. So perhaps I'll do like a few back and forth tracks with those guys, but that'll be more on this sort of underground level. But who I'd like to collaborate with, I mean, you know, I suppose the list is kind of endless and very unrealistic in some areas as well. You've got like amazing talents like Andy Page, but he lives in Melbourne, although I'm going there soon, but I'm meant to be on holiday with my girlfriend there, so I don't think I'm going to get anything done. And you got someone like BT who's so technically amazing. I'd really love to do a track with him just for the experience, you know, even if we ended up with a track that was not something that I particularly liked, but to actually make the track with him would be awesome. Yeah, and then you've got the even more unrealistic things like Mark Bell from LFO, and you know, all these producers that I grew up listening to their stuff.
How important is it for a DJ to have his own versions or edits of big name tracks that he or she is associated to?
I think it's a good way of being individual. You know, if you've got a version of a track that you've made yourself that no one else has got, and the only way that people are going to experience that is to come and see you play, so it gives another angle for the crowd. But I think there are other ways to be individual as well. You know, I think you can give one DJ a pile of records and give another DJ the same pile of records and get a different result. So I don't think it's the only way of being individual, but it certainly helps.
DJ Mag just released their top 100, top 250. How do you feel where you placed? Do you think it's appropriate?
I'm really, really happy that people voted for me. You know, it definitely means a lot. But I think the whole sort of thing is a kind of a popularity thing, and it doesn't really represent realistically how well a particular DJ is doing. For example, you have Eric Murillo, I think he was number 21 or number 22, and then you have I don't know, let me think who was in the top 10 or top 15, and then, well, I'll use myself as an example, and then you have me at number 15. Now, if I was a promoter putting on an event, I don't know about here, but definitely in Southampton and a lot of other places around the world, if I wanted to fill a venue and I had a choice of either me or Eric Murillo, and you know, and I'm talking about filling a venue here, I would probably book Eric Murillo because he's the bigger crowd pull, in my opinion. So, you know, in a lot of ways, even though it is a popularity poll, it doesn't really represent realistically how well a DJ is doing. So I guess that's the best way to describe my thoughts on it. But obviously it's amazing that I even got in there. So
technically, who do you think is the strongest DJ around?
I don't know. I mean, there's lots of amazing DJs. I mean, like the Scratch Perverts and the Tony Vegas and all the hip-hop DJs are technically amazing. And then you've also got, you know, people like Sasha and Digweed, whose mixing is incredibly smooth. And then you've got Richie Horton, who's, you know, uses samplers and has a different aspect to the technical side of DJing. So I don't really know who's the best. I just think everyone has their sort of different takes on it. I don't know who's the worst either before you ask. But yeah, you know, there's some of the technically they're the sort of people I enjoy watching as well as listening to.
If you had to do the chance to do something inside the scene rather than produce or DJ, what would you try?
I would probably do club visuals, because it's something I've played around with a little bit now that these DVJ machines have come out. Yeah, and I also used to be a graphic designer, so if I had to do something in the scene, I would get into the design side of things. You know, taking out the sound, you know, you have the visual side of it, so that's what I do.
If you had the chance to go anywhere in the world and a DJ had a free concert, where would you want to go and who would you want to open for you?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, there's so many great places all over the place. I'd probably choose somewhere that's kind of not known for that type of thing. So I'd like to take, if it's going to be like a dance electronic music concert, I'd like to take it somewhere where perhaps it hasn't been done before, or has only been done a small amount. So somewhere like Bucharest in Romania, or you know, somewhere where they may not have experienced that type of thing before. So I would do something like that. But as for opening, I don't know. There's so many great DJs around at the moment. You know, it's a sad fact that there are a lot of amazing DJs in bedrooms and bad DJs in clubs. So I don't know. There's lots of, you know, I get demos all the time. So I wouldn't want to single anyone out.
Of late, there's been a bit of controversy with DJs and who they're performing for, whether it's the club owners or the people or the promoters or themselves. There was an incident down in Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about that incident and what you would do in that situation?
Well, Steve Lawler was DJing for a couple of hours, and then the club promoter came up to him and said, "Oh, would you play this this techno record. It's like 140 BPM. Because they have I think they had some sort of striptease or some dance act thing that was going to happen. And and Steve I think he was meant to play a 4-hour set, and he was 2 hours into it, and he's playing like 130 BPM house music, and everything's going great. So he rightly said, no, I'm not going to do it, and I probably would have said the same, but I'm always trying to be the diplomat, so I would have probably said, yeah, sure, I'll play it at the end, or I would have sort of done something somehow to keep them happy. But Steve said no, and he said, you can play the record if you want, and I'll finish my set now. So I think that's what he did, and he tried to leave the club, and the door staff got very heavy with him and basically threatened him, with violence to get back on or have his legs broken. So he went back on and probably played for another hour, surrounded by security guards, which couldn't have been very comfortable. And obviously he was over his girlfriend, so it's a really bad situation to be in, and I totally sympathise with him. But yeah, if I was in that situation, I think I would have seen how big the bouncers were and then made the decision. But yeah, I would have tried to be as diplomatic as possible.
What is the worst aspect of the entire electronic dance scene, and what do you think needs to be changed?
The worst aspect, God, I don't know. Okay, I suppose it's fairly obvious. The illegal downloading of producers' music. It's seen the collapse of so many great record labels, and also it's made a artist go back to working in Burger King instead of writing the music that they were destined to make. So it's sad. Illegal downloading is amazing. There's a site I go on every now and again called Beatport, which is good, and also there's a few other sites where they even give free downloads away. But I think illegal downloading is the worst.
And in the next little while, where do we expect to see your name?
After this, I go to Montreal, and then Edmonton, and then Santo Domingo with Luke Fair, your local hero, and then I go to Atlanta and Jacksonville. So, and before here, I was in South America. So, by the time I get home, I would have been away for a whole month. And then when I get back, I'm going to play in London, like a small, sneaky little night that my friend's running called Lizard with Lee Burridge. And then off to Oslo. And then for New Year, I'm going to go to Australia, and I'm going to play there, and have a holiday as well. My first holiday in 3 years. So it's going to be amazing.
And finally, what's the difference between the Canadian scene and I guess the rest of North America?
I don't know really. Everywhere is different. Even in America, from state to state is different. New York's very different to LA. New York people are very are an educated crowd, but in some ways quite reserved. And then in LA, you've got the people that just go out and go nuts. So everywhere's different, and every different state has its good and bad points. And I think the same with Canada and anywhere in the world. But the main difference, I don't really know. I think Toronto is quite an open-minded crowd. When I came here and played at Government, it's always a risk when you drop a certain record. You always have a certain record in your box that you love, and you think, I want to play it, but perhaps this isn't the right place to play it. So it's always a nice surprise to play it, and then the people go with you on it, and that's what I like about here. Even in a big club like Government, where they have not only DJs like myself, but they have more commercial DJs. They also have the underground DJs. They don't just go for the big names all the time. They have a mixture of everyone, and I think that's what's worked for the vibe in this place, because people expect variation and they appreciate it. Hi, this is James Zabiela, and you're listening to Amplified Radio with DJ Amps. Hi, this is James Zabiela, and this is my latest production.